A question I've often asked myself is how much time should I put into this thing on a regular basis in order to see success from something? And this would go for many things, but usually this would around things such as, my business and just things that I'm working on. Because one of the most difficult things that I have been struggling with, and even now lately, is trying to figure out, right, well, how much time and energy should I be putting in every single day in order to get the outcome that I want? And again, when I ask myself this question, there's two sides to it. One side says put as much time as you can into it, spend all your working hours and days thinking about it and doing it. And that's all well and good. And as much as there are people that can, say that you should do similar things to that, again, you know, eventually you're going to encounter burnout if you just try and, max output and force yourself to do all the work all the time, even when you don't want to do it. But then the other side of it is okay, well, maybe you should just focus on, the quality of your stuff, work less and such. However, I feel like sometimes when I've done that, I felt that I could always be doing a bit more. So I'm basically stuck with this question, and I sort of wanted to talk more about where I'm at with it. So, what I've come to realize, or literally yesterday, is I feel like a lot of the time we are trying to find a feeling, right? And by that, I mean when we're working, when we're doing, whatever it might be, at the end of the day, we have a feeling of the day, whether we felt the day was good, that we crushed the day, or whether it was okay, or perhaps we sort of really regret it. And I'm coming to find that there's not really a specific amount of time that I should spend on a piece of work that will give me that feeling. Or like I can give you tons of examples, but I think that's partly the issue, that it's always a feeling. And that feeling of how well we think we did, or how I guess, how we spent the day today and how that's contributing to that higher goal, I feel like that always changes a little. And especially when you sort of, watch other pieces of content of people, telling you you should be working, from, 6 in the morning till, effectively right through to the evening, you think, well, what does that person do in that space of time? Are they sat down pretty much just, bashing out loads of work through the whole time, or do they have gaps in the day? Do the types of work that they do change later in the day? Like, there's just not enough information around that, and I think that can get quite confusing for me sometimes. Anyway, maybe you as well. So what I'm finding for me is, again, I think everyone will have some level of feeling as to what feels like good enough work or efficient work for a day's amount of work to reach that end goal. I think I'm finding at the moment this is looking like two deep work sessions and a lighter work session. By that I mean a deep work session being me focused, like doing work for maybe 90 minutes to 2 hours straight, um, and doing two of those. So that might be amounting to usually about 3.5 hours, 4 hours, sometimes a bit more, and then doing a lighter work session, which effectively is still doing work on the thing that I'm trying to do, but again, it's lighter at the different tasks. So to give you example, I'm doing AI game development at the moment. So my two deep work session, which I do typically speaking earlier in the day, is going to be doing the code, making images, doing stuff in Unity and making the game itself, and then a lighter work session being going onto my Trello board, making notes on the thing that I want to look to do the next day to help me the next day. But yeah, like, so for example, like that's for me. But I think really the main thing I want to get across for this video is I don't think all work is equal, right? And I think when I hear, like, or at least now, when I hear this idea of, for example, 10, 12 hour work days, I think, right, well, the earlier portion of their day must be the more difficult stuff. But later in the day, even if they are still working, the likelihood is they're probably doing those lighter pieces of work, which don't require as much energy. Because again, right, we are only human, we only have so much energy and focus. And a lot of it is consistency. Because don't get me wrong, right, I've had a few days, and especially when I was pushing to get my demo out, where I literally worked for like 9 hours the day before, and then like 11 or 12 hours like on that day up until about 2 in the morning to get my demo out on time. And I could do that, but I was incredibly stressed and there was no way I was going to keep on doing that. So that's sort of where I stand with it. But again, if you're someone which feels a bit uncertain with, for example, how long you should work, what, like if you're doing enough, then again, I think that's going to be a feeling that you're going to need to find. But finding something which you can do consistently is really key. I find I can do two deep work sessions a day pretty consistently. And if I can do a third session, which is a lighter work session, then that's ideal. And I'm going to see how I go across this. And if I feel like I can do a bit more consistently, then that's ideal. But let me know your thoughts on this video, and I'll chat soon.